What's up, y'all? Rich Slayton here. Today's very special. I'm joined with two of my very good friends to discuss the number one seeds. We're not talking about everybody. We're talking about the number ones. Why? Because they're number ones. The number one seeds of No Tilt Worlds this year, 2020's World Cup event for Clash Royale. And joining me today on voice and on video, because I want you to see how pretty they are, my good friends, mobile gaming entrepreneur and director of mobile gaming for Complexity Esports, Matt Ruttledge, and the caster de Espanol for Clash Royale. If you've ever watched Clash Royale in Spanish, you've seen this guy, you've heard his voice, Victor Behm, aka Kojisan, who will also be casting for No Tilt Worlds in Spanish. Guys, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us here.
So here's the plan for today. We're going to go through each one of our groups and discuss the number one seed, take a look at what their roster is like, what we think their floor is, their ceiling is, kind of discuss where we view them overall in the rankings, maybe bring up a couple wild card picks, and generally give a picture of the powerhouse squads for No Tilt Worlds. So let's kick things off. Alphabetical order, Group A. And that group includes, from bottom to top, Ecuador, Canada, Venezuela, and the number one seed, Mexico. And their roster, if you haven't seen it yet, Adrian Piedra, Dark Light, Diego B, Diego E, Pompeo, and Sergio Ramos.
Man.
This
We're
is
this bang with this team already.
Right? That's an insane roster. You have the CCGS world champion Sergio Ramos. You have CRL world champion Diego B. And then of course Pompeo, Darklight, Adrian Pedra, and Diego E all have a mixture of either massive names or a lot of pro experience. Matt, so when you're looking at Mexico, we're gonna go to Matt first because I know Victor has opinions. So, Matt, when you think about Mexico,
Absolutely.
What do you see as their floor and their ceiling here?
Well, okay, first of all, this has got to be one of the favorites to win it all, right? And that's not going to come as a shock to anybody. This is a star-studded lineup. Every single person on this team. And, they also have solid 2v2 as well. So it's really the total package when it comes to this team. And I know also all of them really want to win as well. None of them are guys that are just going to settle or just kind of coast and stuff like that. They're really going to grind and try to take this. So the ceiling for this team has got to be No Tilt champions.
And I mean, talk about the floor. They don't have a totally easy division. There's good players out of Venezuela, obviously. Lich and X Pedro. I believe they're both on the roster, unless I'm wrong. I haven't checked it. Yeah, both those guys can beat anybody. There's not a TV2 duo here that's experienced together. So, I mean, I guess the real question is, what's the earliest you see them exiting this tournament?
Yeah, realistically speaking, any team can win on any given day, right? And that's kind of become a saying in Clash Royale just because of how it can be matchup based sometimes, or if the team really, out scouts or out prepares another one, they can get an edge. But I don't know if I see that happening in this group, man. I mean, Mexico is just so dominant right now, super stacked. The only team I really that could legitimately, contend against them would be Venezuela. Obviously, a super talented team. I'm the biggest X Pedro fan, so I think that he can definitely help Venezuela get an edge. But floor for Team Mexico, it's got to be second place in this group as the floor. I just don't see them dropping any more than that.
Sure. Now, Victor, this is your region. You've been watching these guys for a long time. And I have a feeling that you might not agree precisely with Matt, but maybe I'm setting you up in the wrong direction.
No, it's exactly what he said. I'm 100% with him. Obviously, us as the organizers, we would love Mexico to be in the finals, to be in the live event. But that is very hard. But we're talking about the groups first. The groups, I see no reason whatsoever that Mexico doesn't advance. I mean, that's for sure. They're going to be either first or second. And now going more specific, they have to be first for many reasons that Matt said. I think the synergy that they have in the 2v2 is going to be good. I mean, Sergio Ramos has been in a team with a Morten and OP Sam. He has played a little bit by himself. Adrian Piedra also in complexity. He did play a little bit. Pompeo played almost every match for Cream. So it's a lot of experience in 2v2 and a lot of CRL players. Even when Diego E, I know he didn't have a good record in CRL, but he did play 2v2. So they're experienced. And let's not talk about Diego B. That's another level.
Yeah.
I don't see them losing. But let me tell you, Leach, we know his level. He can play 2v2 if he want to, but then what do you do with the rest? And X Pedro, the same situation. He's an amazing 1v1, but he was playing 2v2 with JP at the end in Asia. But for me, no doubt, Mexico should go first and Venezuela second. Then the other two teams, honestly, Canada, if you had put a B-Rad, I would have had hopes because B-Rad can sweep a team by himself. He's not even playing. And Ecuador, I read every name, and sorry if they're looking at me, guys, but I didn't recognize anybody. So it's no chance in hell those two teams are advancing.
Yeah, a lot of challenges there. So talking about when we get into the bracket stages, of course, we'll do another video when we get there once we actually have our bracket. But looking at Mexico, you guys both are saying that they have a chance at running for the title. What do you see as the earliest they exit in the bracket stages?
That's something interesting. I don't want to spoil it, but since we're doing it, let's do it. Okay. We have many ideas with the bracket. I mean, we can go the FIFA way, which we want to do that. It's simple. FIFA already has how it's done. So it's like the first one from Group A against the second of Group B, and then you have to send to the other side, first one of Group B and the second of A. Why do you do that? So you avoid, let's say the Group A was the death group, they call it the death group. You are giving the chance that both teams in that group, they can match in the final. So we're going to do that. We're going to save that. Well, we don't know what we're going to do, if we're going to go with A against B at that. We were debating if we're going to do again, another draw. But I don't know. Okay. But let's say we're going to do it the A against B. You know what is B, no?
B, China, South Korea, Russia, and Taiwan.
So with that said, you can imagine a Mexico against South Korea or Mexico against China. Did you see those two rosters? So
those rosters, and we're about to talk about those.
So if we do A and B, that I'm like 90% sure that's going to happen. I think we're going to leave it like FIFA. Mexico can leave as soon as the Sweet 16, sadly. But it is the truth.
Well, let's jump into Group B and give Matt a little more context for that one.
No, absolutely. I mean, there are some people that are saying that Group B here is the group of death just because of how talented Asia is as a region. So let's jump into it. These are some stacked teams. From the bottom up, Rich, like you were doing before, we got Taiwan, Russia, South Korea, and China. And this is going to be a fun group to watch.
Well, China is, and it's interesting,
Japan dropped. Sorry to interrupt. Japan dropped. It was instead of Russia. Can you imagine with Japan? Well, this group would have been crazy.
Yeah, but would you have had Japan and China both in the same group, or would have Japan been a tier 1, depending on their...
It would have been tier 1, but it doesn't matter. We divided because,
because there's only one Asian region.
Yes, Russia.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
So we would have taken Russia, and imagine we would have put Japan there. That would have been insane. But they dropped. I don't know. I don't.
It's already really good. I mean, taking a look at the Chinese roster here for this event, AUK or A, I mean, whichever you want to call them, AU, D King, and then just look at what's next. Higher, LCOP, Little Chen, and Solo Man. And if you watched CRL Worlds this season and didn't come out a fan of Higher, you don't belong watching competitive Clash Royale. I mean, he carried them through that side of the bracket, made Nova look bad, make Fav look bad, and to be fair, took Liquid to the 4th set in that final match. So Higher can ball, and then of course you add Little Chen and LCOP, Solomon. It's crazy. It's a crazy lineup.
Yeah, and these are all players that kind of fly under the radar in the West, just because people don't really follow China as much, I suppose. But if you've never seen these guys play before, you are about to be wowed. You do not want to miss when China plays.
Victor.
Yeah. Yes. Wait, Manu almost entered the room.
Okay.
that was happening. No, I have to agree with you. This is sick. It is amazing. And now you can mention, if you want to mention the roster from South Korea, is great. And also the sleepers. Taiwan, I mean, honestly, you don't see that many names. I think Yao Yao is there, but we don't know what level he's going to have. But it's still, they're competitive. They know each other. And then we have in Russia, they have big names there. And I'm not talking about just Igor or Egor. How do you pronounce him in English? I call him Egor in Spanish, but I'm not talking about him. He has other two very good quality players that they can play. So hold it there. And well, we know what Egor can do. He can actually, they can lose the 2v2, and that kid can come and win the 1v1 and sweep in the King of the Hill. So it's not an easy group, and I don't know. This is going to be one of the toughest. I think we did it right. It should be maybe Korea might be first and China second, but I think Russia is a sleeper. It could come out of the group.
Well, Big Change announced, I believe, yesterday to Korea's roster. I think Dandelion is out because of his parents not wanting him to travel. So, you're still left with some great players, TNT and, of course, Expo Master, both names that you should know falling on an international level for Clash Royale players. But the loss of Dandelion definitely is a blow to South Korea.
Yeah, what do you think about that, man? How do you feel about that?
I mean, Dandelion is just a phenomenal player. This is another one of those teams that has depth to be able to recover for that. Obviously, TNT is just out of this world of what he can do sometimes, and Expo Master is another person like you're talking about, Koji, that he can just win a match for your team single-handedly, and he's done that in multiple seasons in the past. He's carried teams, right? So they will be okay without him, but man, that's also still a hit. As far as like what I'm seeing in this group, it's kind of a similar situation in that I think that China's pretty much got this. They're just so stacked, and they have such a hard work ethic and stuff. I don't see them dropping out of this group, and the lowest that I see them getting is second. As much as I have respect for Russia and Taiwan, I just have so much respect for China. I think that China's going to take this group. South Korea is going to be behind them in number 2. I think actually it's going to be pretty close to the seeding. And Russia, only because of lack of depth. Obviously, Igor is phenomenally talented, right? But as you get further down and stuff, someone else has got to play 2v2. And actually, on that note, this is a good point to kind of talk about some broader things I think we're going to notice as this group stage rolls out, which is what's going to lead to teams having success. So obviously, with the format having 2v2 first, this is something that is important because 2v2, if you've never, played competitively in CRL, you are going to be at such a huge disadvantage because there is nobody in the world that grinds competitive 2v2 the way that people do it in CRL. Like semi-pro leagues, you can get your feet wet and try it out and stuff, but you're still just playing online. It's a different vibe than being in a team house environment where you're grinding it on a day-to-day basis over and over and over and studying other regions intently. So any country that does not have a 2v2 pairing that has CRL experience, to me, that immediately signifies that they're less likely to win just because of the importance of that first set. So just to put that in context too, let's say that you're a great team that wins a 2v2 set, but you're actually just completely average at 1v1, right? And so you have 50% chance of winning the second set, 50% chance of winning the third set. You're still going to win 75% of your games because you're taking that first set. It's massively important. That doesn't even take momentum into consideration. So when I see a team and then immediately find a 2v2 pairing that, if they have experience playing together, that's obviously an asset. But
and we have some of those teams in this tournament.
Yeah.
Well, let's head on to group.
Not them, and that's kind of what I'm seeing in some of these other organizations or the other teams. Like Russia, again, is a phenomenally talented team, great online players and stuff, but they just don't have that 2v2 CRL playing experience that would take them over the edge for me.
And that's a big difference. Well, let's move on to a team that has plenty of 2v2 players. Group C, starting from the bottom, Dominican Republic, Peru, Colombia, and the number 1 seed, the United States of America. Now, I want to start off talking about this because a lot of people on Twitter were throwing some shade at this roster when it was announced, and I couldn't think they're more wrong. I could not believe they're more wrong. First of all, as we saw with the Javi situation in Spain, you don't always know why a player is on or off the roster at certain points during the season, so of course changes might be made. But to go through this roster, Wings, the God RF, Razzer, Bag, Air Surfer, and Oh Yeah. And I want to start off specifically, the person who was criticized a lot on this roster is Oh Yeah. And in my opinion, I understand Trainer Luis's perspective on here, because Oh Yeah has already proven that what he is a stone cold pinch hitter. You need someone to go throw the other team off from their scouting or their game plan who's not going to get nervous in that moment. That's what Oh Yeah is really good at. Plus, there's some other intangibles I think that he brings to his squad. But I'm really excited about this U.S. roster. Koji, you can hold that sour-looking face for a moment. Yeah. Matt, let's talk about our boys in the red, white, and blue.
Look, there's so much controversy around this team every single year, and I've been manager of Team USA too. I know how it goes. It doesn't matter who you choose for your team. People are going to find ways to hate on it or be like, oh, this person should have gone. And that's just because of how stacked this country is, and that's why USA is the #1 seed in this group. And let me tell you, you can have your thoughts about Oh Yeah all you want, but at the end of the day, it may not even matter, because this is what's going to happen. Razzer and the God RF are going to come out in 2v2, and they're going to knock people's faces off. And then Air Surfer, the best online player in the history of Clash Royale, period, is going to come out and win that second set. Nobody else is going to matter. That's it.
Oh yeah, and if we get to King of the Hill,
Bag and Wings and that's right, yeah, Bag and Wings and Oh Yeah are phenomenal players too. But just what they have on that roster too, are you kidding me? This team is insane.
Well, Bag's on fire right now, too. I mean, people don't realize how good his 2019 was. His 2019 was really, 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 and not just good in the amateur or semi-pro scene, but good playing against pro-level Clash Royale players. And then, of course, coming out and winning Revel's tournament. Which one was this one called? It wasn't Brenchong. It wasn't Moreno. It was the most recent one that Revel had, coming out and winning that as well, beating RF in 9 games. So, yeah, I think this roster has a lot of 1v1 firepower. And, Matt, as you said, that 2v2 thing just sets them apart. Koji.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's obviously the reason. I don't care what Trainer Luis did. He knows what he's doing. Is that when people were criticizing Spain, we're going to get to that in a few groups. But it's the same. If OJ is there, maybe he's going to give, a je ne sais quoi. He's going to give something to that team, a surprise, maybe in a King of the Hill, if you get to that. I agree with him. I don't see any of the other 3 teams beating USA in the 2v2. That's for sure. And then with the level of Bag that I have seen lately, come on, dude. And even if you don't put Bag, you have so much potential in that 1v1, like he was saying, Air Surfer or something like that. It's going to be really hard. What I like about this group is the second spot, because it's more my people. I think Dominican Republic, they should be last. Definitely they don't have a strong team. But between Peru and Colombia, it's not that easy. Colombia, we put it in the 2nd seed. But let me tell you, if you read the roster by itself, I like the Peruvian roster better. It's Mini Minter is there. Shenando is an amazing player. The only thing that I have is that they don't have experience in the 2v2. So maybe Código in Colombia is going to bring more. And Victor, Victor with a K, is a very good player, individually. And he can play 2v2. So maybe that would be the advantage for Colombia, but I cannot put my hand who's going to be the second. USA first, no doubt about it. I agree 100%.
All right, let's head on.
Victor,
Matt, do you have anything else?
As a last note, if that's the same Victor that I'm thinking of, the one that played for Undead and CCS, they ended up having the best 2v2 win rate as a duo with Francito. So definitely something to watch out for there as well. And yeah, like you're talking about, Bag absolutely crushed it in CCS as well. So definitely one of the rising stars in the U.S. here.
All right, that's it for Group C. Let's move on to another group that has an insane #1 seed, Group D, with Serbia, Italy, Turkey, and the #1 seed, the United Kingdom, multiple kingdoms all into one kingdom. And what does that leave us with? That leaves us with the Scotsman Thunderstruck, SB, Saint Bellican, Buffmac, Julesy, and someone who I was kind of surprised, but then I realized does have either, I think his parents are Scottish or grandparents are Scottish. KFC coming off 2 top 10 finishes in the global tournament, joining Team UK for this tournament. Koji, this is a fascinating, really frightening roster.
Actually, this is an anecdote that you wouldn't know because you don't know how we organize it. UK wasn't first, and I was like, no. They have to be in the first, rank. I mean, no doubt about it. And it was a little discussion, like, no, but they haven't placed good. I don't care how they placed. This team is stacked. They have to be first. They wanted to put like France on top of them. I said, no. That's all story about France. That's why they're second. And I think we did a right thing. Matt can corroborate what I just said. I believe so, that they are a first seed team for sure. And in this group specifically, they're just going to walk over. I know the Turkish, they are a really strong team, even though if you see by name, you would say, well, they are good, but they are not exceptional players. But they have so much heart they're going to do. And I think Italy might be a sleeper. That's my opinion. But UK is going to just run over everybody. I don't know what. Let's see what Matt says.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, you look at this UK roster and you start off at the top with Buffmac. I mean, any team that Buffmac is on is going to be the favorite. Let's just be honest, right? So, and then beyond him, you've got so much talent as well. And also, I just want to point out really talented 2v2 players. And obviously, he's had CRL experience and stuff, but he's also continued to grind and train with CRL players, even though he hasn't been playing himself. So he's maintained that same level of experience and work ethic and practice. Also played phenomenal in 2v2 with LA Gaming and CCS. And Thunderstruck is a great communicator as well. So I really have high hopes for this team as well. I don't see them dropping out of first place in this group.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of on the same page there. It's going to be interesting to see how this team does later in the bracket rounds. I'm wondering if there's a player who, St. Bellican's obviously a great 2v2 player. 2v2 requires 2v2 players. So I'm very curious to see how they stack up against the other top tier teams when we get later on the bracket in that opening set, because as we've already noticed, and we'll see as we get in more in depth, not only are there teams that have 2 really experienced players specifically in that set, but some teams that actually have their CRL 2v2 duo in there. So we'll take a look at a couple of those as well. Anything else on this group before we move on to E? No. All right, let's move on to Group E. And speaking of teams that have their CRL 2v2 duo, Group E, starting in at the bottom, is Finland. Thank you very much for inventing this game. Portugal, the Netherlands, and Germany. I mean, this is another crazy stacked group. And, I don't think we will tell you very much why. We're gonna. But let's start with the number 1 seed. And already, just to start off, let's just get this out of the way. Morten and Sam, the 2v2 duo of the CRL West champions. And of course, Morten, who most people in the competitive scene say is, and I've said this, I think he is the MVP of the first 3 seasons of CRL as a collective. And then add in this, and this is something I think that you should be proud of, Matt, from CCS. Faust, Schwarzen, and Wolfstochter, all very talented semi-pro and somewhat pro playing in Orange Crown League players, plus Lucas. This is a really nasty German squad that, because of that 2v2 duo, I think should easily be considered a shoe-in for the Final Four and has a real shot at number 1.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And obviously, when you look at this, it's stacked. And Morten and Sam would be one of the most dominant 2v2 duos if they were to pair up together. What the only concern is for me on this roster is that if Morten and Sam are playing in 2v2, that means they're not eligible for the next set. I have a ton of respect. Faust, Schwarzen, and Wolfstochter crushed it in CCS. They are CCS grand champions with existence. This is going to be their moment if they end up playing in these 1v1 sets. Is it true that these semi-pro players have what it takes to win on the biggest stage? And that, to me, is going to be really interesting. Obviously, we know that Morten and Sam can. And so that is going to be the question to me is this depth and these really talented, raw players going to be able to rise up and win on the biggest stage and really show the world that they have what it takes? So that, to me, is going to be one of the biggest keys. But, yeah, on paper, I mean, this has got to be one of the top 4 teams in this competition, without a doubt, especially good coaching and staff behind them. So yeah, I definitely have some high hopes for them, but this is another group of death here for sure.
Well, yeah, I don't have much to add. What I call a group of death, just in my concept, is when you have three very strong teams and anybody could switch places. So I wouldn't call it a group of death. I think it's pretty set that is Germany and Netherlands, in my opinion. Finland, like Rich said, thank you for creating the game, but you don't have the best players. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Portugal, I'm going to tell you, with Lucas, Vitor, and Derp, I think they have a solid team. They can do something there. And sadly, in social media and everything, Netherlands is not doing much. But I know, because I've been asking around, they're doing a lot of scrimmage, and they want to do well. And it looks at the 2v2, they have an amazing combo already happening. And that's what I heard. And just to spice it up, come on, guys, the best match in the history of Clash Royale might happen again. More than
that's a distinct possibility.
Are you sitting? Are you kidding me? 1 HP just to go to the finals. I mean, that was beautiful. So I would say it's Germany first and Netherlands second. I agree with that, but I'm telling you, they are practicing a lot. It might be a surprise there, and Netherlands might be ahead. Who knows? But we'll see.
Just to go over Netherlands roster for those of you watching at home who don't already know it. Of course, Surgical Goblin, top of the list, but also a really stacked rest of the roster. You have Loai and Dion, who both have a lot of CRL experiences. Dion, we saw him a lot in the first season. And then a guy I'm really excited about, who I think we will see in CRL eventually, and Bob the Rock, St. Bellican's 2v2 partner. And then, of course, Fujitora and... actually don't know how to pronounce Giuliano. Let's just make it really amazing. Giuliano. But Bob the Rock, I think, adds in a lot of skill and talent in the 2v2, and I'm going to guess that he's part of that secret 2v2 duo that you're mentioning. But I will say this. All Portugal has to do is beat whichever one of these teams loses to the other one, and suddenly Portugal's in, and either the Netherlands or Germany is out.
You're absolutely right, but it's not going to happen. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what Germany does with their roster, though. Who's going to be starting in the 2v2 set, and obviously anybody can play in 1v1. But yeah, Morten and Sam, I really, as a coach, would want to make sure that they're in a position to carry this team, just given their elite talent and just ice in their veins. So. If they can maintain that and find a good roster structure that works, that team is definitely going to take this group.
I mean, I guess the question is, do you take Morten out of 2v2 and pair Sam with somebody else so that Morten is available for 1v1?
Yeah, that's the thing. So, they could go with some mix of the existence players in 2v2 just because they have had experience perhaps playing in that set. But again, it's just different at a different level when you're talking about playing online versus grinding in CRL. So maybe Morten and Sam can pass on some of the lessons and decks and stuff that they've learned along the way to these guys and take that set as well. All
right, let's head on to Group F. And this is where I think there's going to be some interesting opinions on Group F. I can already see Koji kind of giving some faces. I think we're all going to have some interesting opinions here. Group F, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Bolivia, and the number 1 seed, Argentina, and these are some good players, but in my opinion is the weakest of the number 1 seeds, with Ali, Framcito, Franco Medina, Lince, Matias, and Nitram. Some very, very talented players here. I enjoyed seeing Franco back at WCG. A lot of really good guys, but just not to the same powerhouse level of the other 5 teams we've discussed so far.
I have to go with you. Since it's 100% Latin American teams, I'll give a little bit of explanation of why. You're absolutely right regarding the first seed. The first seed, like we said in the live draw, you were listening to us, you couldn't know. How do we create this the seeding? Who are those 8 teams in the first ballot, the second group of 8 teams? Why we do that ranking? Well, we based on past experience and the accolades, whatever they have. Then we look at the players inside, and then there is a third one, which is the one that us as a organizer is very important is our audience. I mean the ratings. So this is when the discussion, like many people say, how can you put Venezuela in the second ballot and in the second tier? Because they should be better than Argentina. And I could agree with that if you see it play by play. Where Argentina is like the viewership is huge. I know how hard they're working. They have done decent, not as good as Venezuela. Venezuela in the last one that we did was the second place against Brazil. So yes, I see it. And then just for the happiness of Argentinians, and that's why I was laughing, not even discussing the first. This is the weakest group, man. I mean, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Bolivia, they have no chance. I mean, if Argentina doesn't go to the next round in this group, I think they're going to be like in the worst tier the next time around because they don't deserve it. They've been working a lot. Elke is doing an amazing job. He's been training since November. Like, he's doing a lot of scrimmage, like constantly since November. So I hope they do good, but I agree with you. They are my people. But the weakest group, and Argentina should be first.
And before Matt jumps in, I just want to make a point to the viewers, because you might be looking at Group E and going, why would Netherlands not be first tier over Argentina? And that's because they are separated by region. So Europe is its own region for the group stage, the Americas its own region for the group stage, and Asia is quarantined their own little group for the group stage as well. So while you think Netherlands would be a number one seed over Argentina, but that's not possible the way the groups are divided.
Exactly. I'm quick again. Sorry, Matt, to interrupt. Just bear with us, guys. We have done this online plenty of times, and even the time that we did a live event in Spain, we had 78 teams. We had qualifiers and everything, and the groups were like in a pretty cool seeding method, and we could mix. We didn't care. But because of the timing and everything, and now every match, because before the group stage was a lot done fancast, now 100% is on a studio. We had to do it this way. So hopefully this event is going to rock the world in Clash Royale. And then next time we're going to do it like we're used to do it, which is more fair, like mix and match all over.
Cool. Matt, any thoughts on Group F here?
Yeah, Koji, I think you nailed it on this group. I'll just add on a couple notes here. One is, let's talk a little bit more about Elke, right? Because if we're looking at the staff of each of these teams, this may be a team that has like the best staff, or one of the best staff, most experienced in CRL. I have a ton of respect for the way that Elke operates and his like diligence with training and practice and stuff. And he's always, like you're talking about, always grinding and looking out for new decks and stuff. And that matters in online competitions like this during an off season. So if there's a team that I think is going to stay on top of the meta, it's going to be driven, the culture of a team is going to be driven by a coach that has that standard and that drive themselves, and Elke definitely has that. So I think that is going to definitely show itself. Also some players that he personally has experience working with in the past, so that's great to see. And I think Argentina is actually pretty underrepresented as a region. There's a lot of great talent in Clash Royale coming out of there, with actually Undead Gaming kind of leading the way as well with bringing some of those players to the spot. I definitely really am excited to see some of these guys play.
Well, let's go on to a group that when we did the live draw with trainer Luis joining me, this is the one that he labeled the true group of death. And, not counting how dangerous Asia is with that team, that region being kind of all pushed together, I think he has a pretty good argument here. Greece, Romania, France, and Spain. And, okay, people have made up in arms about Javi 14 not being on Spain's roster at the moment, but let's take a look at Spain's roster anyway. And we're going to start at what would technically be the bottom, which is an insane bottom to start because of how good he's been this last year. And hint, hint, nudge, nudge, I believe he has a CRL team for 2020. Bale starting things off for Spain, along with Faye, Michifu, Yerai, Ruben, and Canario. I mean, is this the best roster in the entire tournament right now?
I would say yes. It's between them and Germany. I would say maybe third you could put Mexico, but it has to be Spain. I mean, no doubt about it. Regarding the group, I kind of disagree little bit. I know why trainer Luis is saying this is because he loves Royale. He worked with him. They have other two players. I cannot find where they posted. I have the information, but I don't want to be reading that much. I know all the teams and everything. But they have other two amazing players in Romania. They could do. Greece, I don't think they have a chance. They're going to be last. And I have my doubts about France. I love France, but I don't think, besides the Sealies, I think they are not the same France 2 years ago when you have those Donkey Kong players. You have amazing people to back up Lupanji. That doesn't exist anymore. I don't see them. Paul is playing at a good level, but I don't know. I think this is pretty set up. It's Spain, and then a toss-up between the other two. So I don't see it like death group. It's just a toss-up between Romania and France. It's my opinion.
Yeah, and I can't disagree with you at all. Spain is always going to be a favorite when it comes to these competitions. The esport is just so healthy in Spain with live event experience as well. So every single person on this Spain roster can carry, and there's very few teams in this competition that you can say that about, where it's literally top to bottom stacked. And so with them, yeah, you talked about Mexico as well, Germany, another one of those. Obviously, I think USA is going to take it, but when you take that out of the picture,
I'm sorry I didn't mention USA.
Not that I'm biased or anything, but yeah, you gotta look at Spain as the favorite in this group, and their floor is I agree actually with Luis. I think that this group is pretty stacked. So I think that there is possibly a way that Spain doesn't come out of it if they just have it, a couple off days or something like that. But yeah, with this kind of talent, their floor has got to be really high. I mean, the floor has got to be number 2 for a team that's this. I will say also, we haven't really talked too much about sleeper teams or dark horses. I want to actually point out Romania. Obviously, Royale is super, super talented. You have guys like Vlad and Distrugi, but who you may not know actually is Distrugi and Lege are a couple guys that can really, really dominate at this level and have had a lot of experience. They just haven't gotten their shot yet at the pro level, but they've competed consistently at a high level in online competition. So I want to see some good stuff from them. Lege was one of the standouts in CCS as well, and Shadow as well.
Shadow is good. Shadow is good, man. He's a really good player.
It's just a sleeper team, no doubt.
Well, this is one of those teams, you're talking about a sleeper. I was going to actually make the exact same pick. A lot of these teams that have these big stacked CRL rosters, those players may have taken their foot off the gas a bit during the break and are starting to ramp up. But this Romanian roster, a lot of these players are playing in Orange Crown League. So they are playing and training at that level consistently. They're already ramped up. They're already dialed in and ready. And then you add in, of course, the fact that this Romanian squad, most of these players have played together on the international stage already. In World Royale League, they've already gotten a first and third. A lot of these players have that on their list from 2019. So this is a squad that I think is really hungry, that's training really hard, and that is maybe in better shape than a lot of their teams coming into this tournament.
Yeah, and I'd have to take another look at all the other countries and stuff, but this may be like the most Clash Royale talent per capita of any country in the world. Would you say like Romania?
Per capita, interesting.
Yeah. This country is stacked for the size that it is. So good on them for sure. And I want to.
It could be. I agree with you in there. Oh, by the way, the group that we passed before, we always have to count on Tommy. Tommy can carry Nicaragua, and that's second place. We put it in third. Sure. I think they could be second, just to put there. And I agree with you with this. Romania, Eptic, if you're listening, we're like friends. We talk in private. He's the coach or the manager, basically. But I don't know. I don't see a City, Paul, Islo, Intox. If you name by name, and because what Rich said, they've been, playing constantly in OCL in a tournament, in a very, very important, international tournament like OCL. I feel Romania should be. I think they're going to be second. I will give them 60%. I'm 40 to France. To be second, first is Spain. That we all know that.
Well, let's head on to our final group, Group H, and this one I'm really excited about. Their number 1 team. This team will be kicking things off today. We start No Tilt Worlds kicks off at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and this is the group that's kicking things off. Starting from the 4th seed, Costa Rica, Uruguay, Chile, and the number 1 seed, another team that's stacked top to bottom with CRL players, Brazil. With the only player you don't know probably is Coca RX, but Wallace, Surge TS, Basoto, Henan Kava, and Luke Dubs. This is a really experienced, competitive roster. And talking about coaching, coached by Alan and Ike, who I think anybody who doesn't know how good they are, look at what Javi Catorze has turned into, and he credits a lot of that to his experience with Vivo Keed and those two guys helping drive his development. Guys, what do you think about Brazil? Matt?
I mean, this is, again, they're a favorite for a reason in this group. Each of these players are phenomenally talented, some of the best young talent as well in Clash Royale. Guys that have competed at the top of ladder for a long, long time. So you know that they've gone through the drills from that perspective and paid their dues. I'm actually really excited to see Samuel Basoto, who's a player that, obviously he has had some experience, but he's looking to really get back in the swing of things and compete again at the highest level in CRL. So I want to see him come out and really put on a show here with this team. And then, a couple other players that are phenomenally talented as well. Serge T.S. You never want to underestimate this kid. Renan Kava, I think he's one of the best. Honestly, he's like one of my favorite players to watch, personally speaking. So I loved watching him on Pain. Luke Dodge is phenomenally talented as well. Coca RX, who actually people who follow like online competitions definitely know his name well. And Wallace, another CCS standout. And again, you put behind this team one of the best coaching duos in the world. So, man, these guys have got to be a favorite in this group for sure. Koji, what do you think?
This is as easy as it gets. It's not as easy as the Argentinian because I think the level of the other three teams, it might be higher than the three that Argentina have. But Brazil is way stronger than Argentina, so it will be that easy, in my opinion. They're going to just walk over everybody. Remember, we have people like Wen, that is a very solid player that is not even in the roster. We have one of the best online players, Lucas X Gamer. He's not even in the roster either, and they still stack. We have a King Joao that some people say that he's not playing a good level. He's in the Rio Cup playing constantly and being one of the best players in that cup in Brazil. So those people are not even in the roster. Then talking about, because I know more the things about the other teams, Costa Rica had like two very good from Central American players. They are not in the roster. I don't know what kind of deal happened there. I don't get into that. Uruguay is okay, and Chile, they were expecting Jose Bryan to play. For some rules that we have here, he wasn't eligible. So they lost the best player they could have. So this is a walk in the park for Brazil, no doubt about it.
Well, and keep in mind that most likely the roster hasn't been released yet, but the word is that the Pain is going full Brazilian for CRL 2020. And you're most likely looking at Luke Dubs and Henan Kava, looking at Pain's 2v2 roster for this upcoming CRL season. So you can imagine that they're grinding together, not just for this event, but also to get ready for CRL. Because then you still have Serge TS, Basoto, and Wallace as three very, very talented head-to-head players. My guess here is Luke Dubs and Henan Kava in the 2v2, Serge TS typically in the 1v1, and then you make your King of the Hill of whatever the heck you want, because it's a monster of a roster.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned the fact that Brazil as a country has won a competition like this before, and some of these guys have experience on that roster and this coaching duo as well. So that has got to help them in this. They've been through this before and they've dominated.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's pretty powerful. Well, Koji, I mean, I'm excited that you guys have put this together. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We've been here for a long time, so not to keep you guys too much longer, I'm going to go ahead and end with a question you didn't necessarily expect. We're going to put you guys on the spot here. If you have to pick the winner of this tournament right now, who is going to be the no-till world champion? And Matt, go for it. Who do you got?
And you're ending with an easy one, man, because it's not even a question. USA is taking this, and it won't even be close. Raptor in 2v2, Air Surfer, the best online player in the world, is going to dominate, and it's going to be a clean sweep in this group stage, and they're going to keep it on rolling. USA, baby.
I believe that we can win. Koji.
You're killing me. No, thank God this goes in English, but you have many Spanish followers. I'm going to get a lot of hate for my answer.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see. I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest. They can do it, and I hope it is the champion is Mexico. Obviously, our studios here, we have a TV deal with a company, Mexican company. We're going to be on TV. We're going to go to their studios. I wish it's Mexico. But I'm going to be honest. Based on rosters and everything that I'm seeing, it has to be Spain. It has to be Spain. There is no doubt about it. We have the best player in the world, said by many players. It can be Morten right there, but if you talk about another player, it has to be Ruben. And then after that, a huge experience, coaching staff, everything. Have you seen what they're doing in social media? Amazing videos. The guys are really involved into this. And they have the audacity to put Javi 14 in the bench. He cannot, the roster that provided, they cannot even use Javi 14 in the first 3 matches. They might do a roster change later on for playoffs, but they cannot even use it and they don't care. You have Bale that actually, at this moment, is undefeated in the OCL. It is crazy what he's doing. You have the usual suspects like Canario as well in that team playing. Geray, dude, Spain champions.
Yeah, it's really hard to bet against Spain, but I'm going to do it. USA all the way. Let's go for it.
Okay, you guys are biased.
I would pick China, but they're not going to. They're all going to get sick before they can actually play their games. Oh. So I'm going to go with Team USA in the end. But I'm gonna because of the way that the brackets are set up, I'm going to go really strange on this one. I'm going to say that my pick for the finals is going to be the U.S. versus Brazil. That's my pick for the finals. I think that Spain's going to go really, really deep, but I think Brazil's going to surprise a lot of people. I think that Serge TS is playing at a great level right now. Wallace wants to prove himself, and Luke Dubs and Hendon Cava are getting ready for this 2v2 for this season. So my finals is the U.S. and Brazil, and then the red, white, and blue takes it.
You're bringing the fire, Rich.
I mean, in a perfect world for us as a organization, it would be Spain against Mexico. But I don't know if I'm with you with that. I put in the other side. It would be the Spain if it comes from this side of the bracket. When we have that bracket, we can do this again. But I think it would be Spain, and from the other side, guys, I don't see USA. Okay, I don't want to talk anymore. But I don't see USA going to the final. Seriously, I see it very hard. I even see an Asian team, either Korea or China, can make it before them.
It's very possible.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you very.
And Germany, if it goes to the other side, if by any chance Germany gets separated and gets to the side with Mexico, I wouldn't doubt like a Spain-Germany final. Let me tell you as well. We have to wait when we have the bracket, who goes where, because the surprises, they send you to the other side of the brackets, and it's a mess.
Yeah, it's going to be all kind of wild. Of course, you guys can tune in starting today, because I'm going to get this video out today. Starting today, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Go to @NoTiltGG on Twitter. It's youtube.com/ /NoTilt?
Yeah, it's no tilt. Pretty simple.
So you can go check out all the action in English, in Spanish. If for some reason you're watching this and you speak French or Turkish or whatever of the 5,000 languages this thing is being broadcast in, the No Tilt GG Twitter will send you the right direction. This is going to be a great event going on throughout the rest of this month of March, and we're all very excited. Matt, thank you very much. Where can everyone find you if they're looking for you on the internets?
Hit me up on Twitter @TheMobileMax.
And, of course, @Kojisan YouTube. I'll put that in the show notes. Guys, I'm Rich Slayton. We'll see you at No Tilt Worlds. I'm pumped. USA, let's go.
USA.